Brendel, who have recently retired. Many people believe that Gary Jack has got the ability to become the next Australian fullback. That remains to be seen. And the country team now, this is the side that includes 7 selected players from the Sydney area itself. And it's a very experienced side. In fact, on paper, there is more experience in this team than there is in the Sydney side. There are no late changes. There are plenty of very, very interesting changes, but selections, but no more vital, I think, than the 5'8" Tony Trudgett. Trudgett has to be the link man to get this country team moving. Formerly with St George, he went back to Yenda for this season, and he holds a very vital responsibility in the outcome of this match. So good conditions prevailing here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Despite the recent rain, it's held up today, and the ground is in excellent condition. Kevin Roberts, voted as Sydney's leading referee at the moment, in charge of this match, gets the game underway, and the ball is put deep downfield by the country centre Andrew Farah, and so Sydney to bring it back into play for the first time. Eric Grape. And what a tremendous clash we're going to see later on out on this flanked on the western side, with Eric Grape being marked by Terry Fay. So Sydney bringing it up. Prop forward Steve Roach. Back to Royce Simmons, Penrith hooker. Bit of support there for him, and Sydney are going to be contained down in their own half unless they can kick out of trouble. And they're going to do that now. It's going to be Noel Cleal. And it's much too long out over the touchline on the full. Not much of a breeze prevailing here today, but he certainly didn't judge that one and put it into touch on the full for the first scrum of the match. Country have improved their record in the last couple of years. You see that 2 years ago they got a bit of a hiding, but that result last year was only effective in the last 15 minutes. Until that stage, Country were leading 14-12 in that match before Sydney ran away with it in the last 15 minutes of the game last year. So that's one of the reasons a lot of people believe this Country side is capable of winning this match today. Up the middle goes John Farah. He's got his brother Andrew playing in the centres in the side. Craig Young, that's Jimmy Lease. Brown, Sterling, Trudgett, Hetherington, out to the fullback. Maguire's made a good break. Maguire deep inside the half. In fact, he's only about 12 metres away from the goal line. Hetherington dummy half. Going himself. Well, this will be danger for the Sydney defence. Let's see how organised they are. Out to Sterling for the bomb. It's a high kick. Not going to make the goal line, though. Sterling himself almost got it back. So Sydney now running it up to their own quarter line. Terry Fay, number 5, moving in to get involved in the tackle. The instructions from the country coach, Alan Thompson, put the Sydney ball carrier to the ground. Don't allow him to stand in the tackle. And this is how they're doing it. Simmons, dummy half, on the Sydney quarter line. Mortimer. Alan Thompson. Simmons. Steve Roach. So Sydney in 5 tackles have only run it about 20 metres away from their line. There's a penalty, though, against Country, standing up in the 5 metres in defence. And that was one of the things that the Country hooker Ray Brown was telling his players not to be caught for in the opening minutes of the game. Gary Cook.
More particularly with Ross Conlon on the wing, and he's a very dangerous man. Anywhere in the Country half, and Ross Conlon can put them over. He has enormous strength and also direction. He's kicked particularly well since coming back from injuries only 2 weeks ago.
Brett Kenny finding touch on halfway. This is Simmons. Pat Jarvis held in the tackle. Horton. And we're going to have a player called out. Craig Young. Referee Roberts saw an incident in the tackle, the use of the swinging arm. Roberts didn't like that. I don't think the ball carrier liked it much better, Paul Borton, but it's a penalty, and here it is.
Well, very early in the match, Kevin Roberts exerting his impression on the game, and it's Paul Borton with the ball. Craig Young coming in late. You could see Borton and it's Young throwing that one very, very high.
Well, Gary, you were talking about the effect of Ross Conlon, and here he is early in the game getting an opportunity with a kick from 10 metres in from halfway. And those who haven't seen Ross Conlon in action before, well, you're in for a treat, because he's a remarkable goal kicker. what's even more remarkable is that this is only his 5th game back. He suffered a hip injury last year that many people thought would prematurely end his career. And then after only 4 games, he was selected for Sydney. Ross Conlon, the better part of 40 metres away from the goal line, getting it high into the air. Is it straight enough? That's the question. It's not. Terry Fay taking it dead. So Ross Conlon very nearly on target. The ball held up by the light breeze. 3 minutes of the game gone, no score yet, and the dropout taken by Andrew Farah. And this is Conlon back in the action again. Caught by Dennis, number 2. Simmons, Jarvis, hard-working St George prop forward, tackled by his front row teammate. Simmons popping it up there for Cleal. Tackler was Ray Brown, a Manly clubmate. Thompson, past Vorton, it's gone to Wayne Pearce running wide, and he's well contained by the defence with a nice tackle by John Farah. On the quarter line, Mortimer. This is Pat Jarvis again, and here's Sydney's first real chance to score. Mortimer. He was taken by Sterling in the tackle, and he was put off that kick. Terry Fay marked it beautifully. Caught by Chris Close. But what a good take that was by Fay. Jim Lease. Brown. He's got a point to prove today. He's opposed by Royce Simmons. And I would suggest that whoever gets the better of the other today will win the New South Wales jersey for the Interstate Series against Queensland. It's going to be a Sydney feed, a loose head to them. They should win the scrum. Won by Simmons, out to Gary Jack, the fullback. Nicely tackled by Sterling. Back to Mortimer. Vorton. Simmons. Jarvis. Another nice tackle by John Farah. Doing his job in the centre. This is Roach. Wasn't expecting the pass, but contained by the country defence. So 2 tackles to go for Sydney. Mortimer. Little kick through. Who's chasing it? Nobody. Bounce gets away from Terry Fay, but he gets it into the field. Caught by Close. Maguire, the fullback. Brown. Sterling. It's McPittman, the second rower. Sterling. That's a long raking kick into a vacant space. Ross Conlon getting back, but he can't keep it in play. That's a fabulous kick by Sterling. It didn't look as though it was going to make the touchline, but once it bounced 2 or 3 times, it then rolled away towards the touchline and was just got away from Conlon. So with Sterling finding touch, it's a scrum feed by Mortimer. And Sydney win the scrum and Country get the penalty. It's against Roy Simmons. Referee Kevin Roberts, in no doubt about that. He had trouble getting the ball into the scrum in the first attempt. It came out the same tunnel, so when he couldn't get it to his satisfaction the second time, he had no hesitation in giving that penalty.
Yes, well, it's good to get the authority in those scrums early. You've got 2 hookers like Brown and Simmons, and they are going to be at each other's throats all day. It's very vital that one establish superiority over the other.
And would you say it's correct to say, Gary, that they're going to take as much mileage as they can?
They'll take as much as they're allowed to take, I'd say, Alan.
To the blind side, Sterling calling the shots inside to Lease. Back to Brown. Got Craig Young, but it's gone past him out to the 5'8" Trudgett. Tackler was Jarvis. No, it was Pearce. Throwing it back to Sterling. Brown realising Sterling's the organiser here. Jim Lease. Now it's away. Maguire, the fullback. He's made the break. Country in search of the first points in this game. Penalty, offside. Accidental, but he was in an offside position. The ball actually bounced off Conlon and Mortimer was in front of Conlon, grabbed the ball. So there's no score in the game, but Country are going to have a chance. Ross Conlon has missed with an earlier shot for goal. It didn't miss by much. And after about 9 minutes of the game, we've got Country in with a chance of putting the first points on the board with this kick that's going to be taken by winger Brian Dennis. He hails from Gundagai, but he's a pretty good kicker, Dennis. And in fact, when Riverina played Newcastle in the recent final of the New South Wales Caltex Country Divisional Championship, Newcastle won the game fairly easily in the end, but Brian Dennis scored every one of Riverina's points. 2 tries and 4 goals from memory, bringing up the Riverina total of 14 points. So this is certainly within his capabilities, with the ball placed on the quarter line and about 7 metres in from touch on the far side. In fact, he's being very, very particular about the lay of the ball. Gundagai winger Brian Dennis, 22 metres out from goal, gets it nicely into the air and across to the left of the posts. Gary Jack, the fullback for Sydney, caught by the Country defence 10 metres out from his line. Back to Noel Cleal, pushing out of the first tackle, but he was ankle tapped by Trudgett. Roy Simmons. Jarvis, the dummy half. Mortimer. Switch in play to Jack for the kick. Putting it into a vacant space. Maguire's got a long way to come across field. Dennis. Not the tackler there. Pat Jarvis to the ground. Jarvis is not too well. He got a hard knock on the head in attempting to tackle Brian Dennis. Noel Cleal's running it downfield, passing it to his winger Grope, who's caught by Terry Faze. But Pat Jarvis doesn't know where he is. I think he does now, but he's going to have a sore head. Brett Kenny given room to move. Got Chris Close coming inside. Kenny with a lot of pace, getting a nice pass out. Ross Conlon going for the corner will score. Lovely run by Brett Kenny. His Parramatta clubmate Peter Sterling, number 7, was coming across in cover, but Kenny just showed his experience, and eventually Ross Conlon set up the score in the corner. Here it is, a good break, and you'll notice the experience of Brett Kenny in this move. Gary Jack getting the ball from Borton, and now Kenny just runs it to the corner, draws the defence, got away from Dennis, and he realises that he's got support. The last line of defence was drawn, and Ross Conlon did well to get out of Sterling's tackle and cross over in the corner out wide to score. Well, that will not do a great deal of good for the Country effort. One of the last things they wanted was to allow Sydney to get first points on the board in this match, and Sydney have brought it up with that try to Ross Conlon after only 12 minutes. So Conlon is going to attempt the conversion of his own try.
Both those Country centres, Farrer and Hetherington, are big men, and the speed of Kenny out wide there is certainly something they're going to have to watch during the course of the game.
Too true, Gary. Well, Conlon realised the effect the breeze had on the ball at his previous attempt at goal. It was from a wide angle, but getting it up again nicely. In fact, very well indeed. That's a lovely kick from Conlon, taking Sydney away to that very good lead after the try that he scored himself. And this is it from our high-angle camera, and as you heard, the Country centres a little bit slow in moving up. It gave Kenny room to move, and Kenny getting away from that grasping hand of Brian Dennis, then drew the defence, and away goes Conlon, just stepping inside the attempted tackle of Sterling, and he crossed out wide to score. So 6-0 is the score, with Conlon scoring the try and converting, and Country now anxious to contain Sydney near their line. Pat Jarvis, he seemed to have recovered from that head clash. Roach. Nice tackle there from Mal Graham. Cleal. Mortimer. Switch in play. This is Thompson. Out to Conlon. Thompson. Gary Jack. Terry Fay getting to the ball first. He's been in great form with the Canberra Raiders this year, Terry Fay, and that form has been responsible for his recall to the representative scene. Sterling, Trudgett, long one of the centres. That's Farah. Got it beautifully away. Hetherington. Sterling. John Farah, Terry Fay. This is Dennis, the right winger, recovering slowly for country. Meanwhile, the kick downfield has gone to Grafe. Caught by Lease, away from the tackle, chased by Sterling. There's Trudgett, got away from that, but he doesn't. Hetherington doesn't miss. Conlon. To Simmons. Mortimer. Little kick over. The kick and chase. Sterling is back. So Simmons to Thompson. That's to Roach. Pearce dropped it. The defence hit him at the time he got the ball. Peter Sterling's been hurt. Well, Peter Sterling can't be allowed to stay there if he's injured. He's in fact, he's the vital member of this country side, and he's receiving attention now from the country trainer.
Looks like his right wrist or arm that he's holding there, Alan, and that'll certainly be a concern to not only the countryside but the Parramatta team.
Well, Sydney have got the ball through Ross Conlon, and Sterling is in a great deal of trouble behind play.
As a matter of fact, when he went in for that tackle that he missed Conlon on for that first Sydney try, he certainly didn't seem to be himself at that time. He didn't go in as full-hearted as he normally does.
Brett Kenny again given room out wide. On to Pearce. Good pass to Grafe. Inside play. Away goes Eric Grafe. Sterling is back in cover. He won't have the pace. The fullback's there. Sterling's got him. Beautiful backing up, and the ball has been dropped by Chris Place. The line was open. The pass came too hard to Close. He couldn't hold it. It would have been another try to Sydney, but good work there by both Sterling and Maguire in being able to stand Eric Grafe up. It was good play, and Grafe, realising the fullback was coming across, got the pass inside, and Close was backing up but couldn't hold the pass. Not much of a clear tunnel there for Sterling, and the referee says so too. And it's the front row been penalised for the way in which they're standing. Not standing at right angles to their opponent's goal line.
Penalties, country 3 and City 2. Two of those scrum penalties to the country.
So country have got it inside their own half. Craig Young, haven't seen much of him yet. Terry Fay, he's left it behind. The advantage played, and Sydney have got it. Well, they're the silly mistakes that neither side can give away. But bearing in mind that these two teams have only had a week together, and it's going to take a little while for some sort of cohesion to develop. Brett Kenny, taken there by Andrew Farah. Back to Simmons. Mortimer, Simmons. Nice tackle by Young. Nobody wants it in the Sydney side. That's Jarvis. Caught again. Conlon knocking on. A scrum on halfway. A country feed. Peter Sterling feeding the scrum. Referee Roberts wants it ordered, or is going to order it further in field. And you can hear him say, first one down, I'll penalise. He doesn't want the two front rows to come together. And yeah, there he is, staying true to his to what we heard him say. Ray Brown was penalised. Penalty to Sydney on halfway. Kenny's kick finding the best part of 30 metres to put Sydney right on the attack again. Sydney leading 6 points to 0. Conlon. This is Jarvis playing it. Simmons. Paul Vorton. Back to Simmons. Mortimer. Alan Thompson. Pass cleared close in the centres. He was nicely caught there by Farah. Roach. Again a good tackle by Farah. Another tackler is Mick Pittman, number 10. Mortimer. Now waiting for it is Maguire. The ball's loose. Mortimer's got it. It's a try. Steve Mortimer's got it. It came off country hands. And Mortimer, just like a rover in Australian rules, waiting on the ground for the crumbs, and they fell to him. Lovely place kick this by Mortimer. It came down right next to the posts. Maguire, you watch number 1, judges his leap quite well, but he has to contest the ball with the Sydney players. Up they go, and it's been ruled to have been touched by Maguire, and so Mortimer was able to grab it and dive over to score. So a lead of 10 points to 0 now to Sydney. Country boys quite perturbed by the fact that they've given away this lead. 22 minutes into the game. Conlon to attempt the conversion.
Smart play by Mortimer. Also, he positioned himself in behind the country defence as they waited for that, in the hope that one of them would touch and put him onside. Down it came, and there he was, right in position to just catch the ball and put it over the line. Conlon from practically straight in front. No mistake whatsoever. And from head on, we saw the try, and this is the side-on angle with Mortimer's kick, as we mentioned, descending alongside the left-hand upright. Maguire, eyes on the ball, and you see Mortimer coming into the picture on the right, just grabbed the ball and was always going to be a try. In fact, he was helped across the line by Trutcher. Andrew Farah doing something he probably doesn't like doing, and that's restarting play. He'd much prefer to be on the receiving end, I'd say, having scored himself. It's going to be Conlon to play it. Gary Jack is the dummy half. The tacklers were Mick Pittman and John Farah. No, the hooker Ray Brown. Roach. Jimmy Lease, the tackler, going low there. Mortimer. It's Wayne Pearce running wide with the backs. Got it away to Thompson. Showing a bit of his old dash, Alan Thompson, down the touchline, calling a support inside. It's gone to Eric Grape, and Grape racing away for the easiest of tries. A beautiful try. And meanwhile, back downfield, Alan Thompson just sat on the ground and watched Grape speed away from him to score under the posts. Well, a lovely piece of play. Put that one down to Alan Thompson. Wayne Pearce standing in the tackle, and then Thompson just darted through that gap. Terry Fay let him go and was perhaps put off by his teammate, and so Thompson just drew the defence of John Maguire. Eric Grape took the ball that may have been intended for Steve Mortimer further infield, but Eric Grape didn't mind. He knew it was always going to be a 4-pointer, and from where he scored it should be a 6-pointer. Conlon about to make it 18-0. Never in doubt. Well, Frank Stanton, the
Sydney coach pretty pleased with the position. And meanwhile, here's the try again with Alan Thompson. You'll notice how Terry Fay is actually tripped by a teammate, and so he wasn't able to give chase to Alan Thompson, and Thompson drawing Maguire, then just found Eric Graith inside, and Graith was only going at half pace here to score, right under the black dot. So only a minute later, Andrew Farrar restarts again. Chris Close into dummy half for Sydney. Roach. Cleal. It's too difficult to put down. Conlon back to Cleal. Sydney making this a walkover at the moment. He's got Paul Borton. What a beautiful dummy intercept. And Noel Cleal, the big second rower, over again. And this is beginning to be a procession. Well, there was a lot to learn in that. Noel Cleal involved. But once having got the ball away, you notice that Cleal actually pushes out of this tackle by Jim Lease. And after getting the ball away, he backs up to get the ball back. And watch this lovely dummy as Maguire waits for him. A little dummy, and Maguire had to go. And then Noel Cleal was left unmarked. And the big fellow just kept running away, putting it down. Well, I know that his brother Les, who left Brisbane to go back to Warrialda, will have enjoyed watching his big Noel score that try, and Jesse and Harvey Cleal of Warrialda, along with Les, would have enjoyed that one very, very much. Ross Conlon from the quarter line. He's kicked 3 out of 4 so far, and now make that 4 out of 5. So Noel Cleal, crusher, was called into the country team after a change in their selection, and then that recall was overruled, and Noel Cleal found himself, instead of playing for country, playing for Sydney. And I think his country opponents would have much preferred it the other way around. But, there was just no stopping him once he was in the clear. Craig Young giving chase and Noel Cleal over to score. 24 points to 0, and Sydney have got the ball in their own half. Cleal. Well, Sydney have just been playing all over country at the moment, and it's not been all Sydney's good play. I think country have made their fair share of mistakes too, Gary.
Yes, it's been very telling, and of those 16 country errors, there have been 13 missed tackles. They just can't afford them against these big Sydney players.
Midway, quarter line and halfway, 1 tackle to go. Alan Thompson marshalling his troops. Eric Graith, big powerful man, away to Kenny. Mortimer was onside. That's Jarvis, the prop forward. The ball knocked forward by country. Trudge it back there. Wayne Pearce got it up to a teammate. Tackle count starts again. Thompson playing it. Simmons, Vorton, Roach, Jack. Pass close, out to Conlon for the corner. He's in again, but into touch. 4 metres short of the line. And Ross Conlon going for the corner, very nearly made it, but the cover defence just coming across. Gary Jack cut out Chris Close there. Conlon was caught by Dennis, taken by the shorts, into touch. And in the meantime, country have made a replacement. And their goal-kicking winger, Brian Dennis, is off the field, and he's been replaced by the goal-kicking centre from the seconds, Neville Elwyn, from Newcastle. So you'll see Elwyn out there for the countryside, running around in jersey number 17, and he's replacing the right winger.
Well, it's really been a devastating period of play by the Sydney team. 3 tries in 4 minutes. The first to Steve Mortimer, the The second to Eric Growth and the third to Noel Clue. Of course, there was an earlier try to Ross Conlon, but that's really probably decided the match just in that 4-minute period.
Well, it's certainly going to take a big effort by the country boys to get back into this one. Their hearts must have really been high when the country seconds team scored a well-deserved victory, 28-22 over the Sydney seconds. But the man who doesn't reflect that feeling at the moment is the right winger, Brian Dennis, who's being assisted from the field. Ray Brown playing it. This is Hetherington getting it away to Trudgett. No support for him. Country on the attack. Little Ray Brown's kick. Just into the in-goal area. Sydney have forced it. And while the action goes on, Brian Dennis, with what appears to be a hamstring injury or a knee injury, just leaving the field. He's been replaced in the three-quarter line by Neville Elwyn. So Sydney, having forced the ball in goal, are going to restart with the goal line dropout. And Mortimer hands the ball across to fullback Gary Jack. Jack drives the ball deep to halfway. Maguire. Hetherington. Sterling. This is Andrew Farah. Ray Brown. Craig Young slipping it out. That's second rower Pittman. Alan Thompson with something in his eye, a little bit of mud. Nice pass. Bad pass there, though, to Terry Fay. Maguire chiming in. So country with an opportunity, but Maguire's pass going behind Terry Fay. Alan Thompson taking no part in this game at the moment. He's standing out on the left wing as Sydney win the scrum, and Steve Mortimer is caught by lock Jimmy Lease. And Mortimer's been hurt. This is Pearce caught by Lease and Pittman. Mortimer a little bit groggy after that last tackle. Cleal. Taken around the legs by Sterling. He knows how to get him. But even still, they can't put him to ground. Simmons. Tackler was John Farah. Mortimer. Out to Eric Growth. Lovely pass to Conlon, who kicks. Play to come back for a scrum on halfway. Eric Growth, with Alan Thompson receiving attention out on the right wing, had moved over to the centres, and here he is doing well to push away from that tackle of Tony Trudgett and gets the pass out as he goes to ground. Nice pass. The scrum penalty to Sydney, though. And again, it's against the country front row and the manner in which they're packing down in the scrum. And really this game just being played at half pace now, with Sydney scoring those 4 quick tries and perhaps giving the feeling to both teams that the result is a foregone conclusion. Nice run by Maguire. Trudgett. Sterling. Ray Brown's pass, a long one, floated to the centres to Andrew Farah. Brown. Sterling, no, went inside to Craig Young. Brown. Sterling. Farah. Sterling driving Sydney back, but Gary Jack is in the way. Jim Lease slipping in the mud, as does Gary Jack, and Lease eventually gets his man. Jarvis, Growth, Pearce. To Mortimer. Roach. Taken low by Trudgett. On halfway. Simmons. Mortimer. Pearce. And close. Powering his way through the defence. And it took Peter Sterling to put him down. Back to Jarvis. Thompson. Mortimer. Switch in play and the ball's loose. Cleal. Knocked on by Sydney, a scrum. Sydney leading 24 points to nil after tries by Conlon, Mortimer, Graith and Cleal. Kevin Roberts had a lot of trouble with the scrums today.
It's not unusual in representative games such as this, Alan, where the forwards are not used to packing with each other.
Trudgett making half a break. This is Pittman. And that penalty against the Sydney defence. Wayne Pearce. Keep out of the 5, says referee Roberts. Country get the penalty, a much needed one at that. Into the last 5 minutes of the first half, and the Country are trailing the Sydney boys 24 points to nil. But that good kick by Andrew Farrell will give them a little bit of heart and perhaps the opportunity to get points before half time. Browse. Young to Sterling. Cross now to Hetherington. The Illawarra centre upended by Wayne Pearce. Graham, Sterling, Lease, Borton and Alan Thompson, the defenders. Ray Brown. Looks for Farah. John. Good pass back inside, but Sterling had overrun it. Country are lucky to have the ball again. Elwyn is the dummy half. Sterling. Trudgett. Hetherington. There it is. That's Maguire. Got a good pass to Hetherington. Inside he goes and he's down. Caught by Pearce. And Eric Rhodes got it for Sydney. Caught by Terry Fay and Craig Young. Mortimer. Steve Mortimer weaving his way around. Sterling's across. Sterling can't get him. Mortimer is now caught by his opposing halfback. That's Steve Mortimer at his best. Long pass right out to the centres. This is Brian Dennis, who doesn't look as though he'll take any further part in the action today, even though replacements in these games once off the field can be recalled. Now to Roach. Gary Jack. He's kicking under pressure. He really didn't get that one as deep as he wanted. Terry Fay hit him the tackle. Fay running it up again. Sterling. It's Mick Pittman now. 2 minutes to go before the break, and Country in possession in their own half. Long one by Sterling, not a good pass. Maguire's there to recover for Country. Brian Hetherington on tackle number 5, playing it for Country. And so there'll be a kick put downfield by Farah, putting it away onto the quarter line to Gary Jack. Sterling, the tackler. Thompson. Switch in play and sees Pearce get a pass. Close gave it away. And Ross Conlon caught. Simmons. Jarvis. Caught by Craig Young. Gary Jack. Little one by Mortimer is a little bit too long. So we're into the last minute of the first half. Sydney with tries through Conlon, Mortimer, Eric Grape and Noel Cleal. Conlon has converted all 4 tries to give Sydney this lead of 24-0. And yet a country penalty from the scrum. Farah to drive this one deep, realising the time is running out. Well, at least country now can run it into a position to put some pressure on the Sydney defence. There's a break, but the pass deliberately forward. Mal Graham across the line, but the pass forward, and he's been penalised for being in an offside position. Here it is.
Good decision by referee Kevin Roberts. Watch Craig Young go into this ruck, charges in, and he sees Graham looming up, but waits too long, and Graham, at the time he took it, was well in front of him.
Half-time siren has sounded. There will be a penalty taken by Sydney to end the first half. Tap penalty by Simmons. Once the ball goes dead, it will be the end of play, as it is now. And at half-time, Sydney lead country first by 24 points to 0. And for the Sydney side in the first half, Ross Conlon scored after 12 minutes, and then further tries followed in a space of 4 minutes. We had Steve Mortimer, Eric Grape and Noel Cleal all cross for 4-pointers. Ross Conlon has converted all 4 tries, 4 goals from 5 attempts to Ross Conlon, and at half-time Sydney leading country by 24 points to 0. Stats on the first half from Gary Cook.
Well, it's been a keen tussle in the scrums, as you would expect, and there's nothing in it. City and country 2-all, no tight heads, while the penalties narrowly favour country 6-5. But with the errors, a massive 29-10 error count in favour of country, and of those 29 country errors, 21 missed tackles.
Well, that's a statistic they can well do without, and probably the reason, I'm sure, that Sydney hold this commanding lead after the end of the first 40 minutes. In the first half, the country errors that you'll see, 21 missed tackles, and no side can allow their opponents that much freedom. The reason that Sydney were able to run in 3 tries in the space of 4 minutes at one stage in that first half. No apparent changes to either side, bearing in mind that about halfway through the first half, Brian Dennis, the country winger, was replaced by Neville Elwyn. Dennis was the country goal kicker, and Neville Elwyn will take over that role. So already now for the second half, not quite. The ball just falling off the mound. "40 minutes of football remaining, with Ross Conlon getting the game underway for the second half, and country have got a lot to do to get back into this game, and they've got to do it quickly. In the first half, some good tackling performances. Sydney didn't have to tackle all that much, but Pat Jarvis headed the count along with his other prop forward, Steve Roach. Paul Wharton, what do you say? He does this every game, chips in with his fair share of defence. Country running it out from their own line. In the first half, they had a lot of tackling to do, but they seemed to miss more than they tackled. And John Farah, the front row forward, did very well with 17 tackles. Sterling, Trudgett. Lees chiming in with Hetherington. Andrew Farah. Grub a kick that finds the line. Conlon not quite able to keep it in play, and that's better play. More organisation that time from country. They knew what they were about. Scrum going down with both sides making a change in the back line. Sterling getting a long pass to Hetherington. As Farah stepping around his man. Caught by Pearce. Still going. Tackler was Borton. Brown. It's John Farah. Sterling. Young. Past Lees. That's beautifully picked up by Maguire, getting it to the replacement winger Williams. who's come on to replace Terry Fay. Andrew Farrar standing in the tackle, turning it back to Mick Pittman. He doesn't look all that big, Pittman, but he's very, very solidly built. Ray Brown darting away from dummy half to set John Farrar on the way. Good pass that had been overrun, and so Sydney get the ball. Chris Close to play it. Thompson, Jarvis. Crashed there by Jim Lease. Simmons, Mortimer, Roach. On the quarter line for Sydney. Cleal. He's the man who's presented so many problems for the country defence in the first half, popping it up to Mortimer, who streaks away. Williams is coming across from the far wing. They won't get to him, and Stevie Mortimer has run 65 metres to score under the post. Mortimer has scored the try, but look who set it up. None other than their blockbusting second rower, Noel Cleal, who, as we were just saying, presented so many problems in the first half, and he was about it again. Cleal stands in the tackle, out of one, out of two, out of three, and as he's caught here, he stands up, and Mortimer got it, and away he went. He knew it was a try all the way. And what about those critics who said that Steve Mortimer couldn't sustain his pace over a long distance? They were never ever going to get him, and it's a run of 65 metres to score that good try. The man who doesn't mind where the tries are scored is Ross Conlon, but he prefers them scored here. It should be 5 out of 5 for Conlon. So 5 tries, 5 conversions to Ross Conlon. And here's that try again with Cole pushing away from Sterling, pushing away from Graham, pushing away from Lease. Caught there by John Farrar, pops the pass up to Steve Mortimer, and the only man with any chance of catching him is Williams, who flew across from that wing, but he was too far of Mortimer, and Mortimer always going to score his second try. Play restarts with Elwyn putting the ball deep. Sydney have got it, and again it's Cleal running it up, and John Maguire, the country fullback, has been replaced. Dennis Regan assisting him from the field. And so that'll mean a replacement in the countryside at fullback. Sterling has gone back there for the moment. And we haven't got a replacement on the field as yet. We're going to see what the diagnosis is of that injury on Maguire, and I don't think he'll be replaced unless it's absolutely necessary. It's Williams caught by Close. Now it looks like there is going to be a replacement, and it's going to be Steve McWhirter. Lease dropping the ball. Sydney have just had too much authority for this countryside today. Craig Young, despite the presence in the countryside of the experienced Sydney-based players, they just haven't got their teamwork together. Pittman. It was 24-0 at half-time. And in the opening minutes of the second half, Sydney have gone further ahead with that 5th try of theirs. And again, the story of the game repeats itself, with country making the error to force the scrum. The official attendance for the game here is 10,400. Steve Mortimer feeding the scrum. Turning it inside to Pearce, the lock forward across field, standing up, no support on the scene for him. Jack, Mortimer, that's Pat Jarvis. Sydney getting the ball back, but it has gone backwards all the way. Able to keep possession. Cleal's pass to Close. Tackler was Pittman. That's Roach. Alan Thompson, a little grubber kick through. Mortimer giving chase. McWhirter's, no, it's Elwyn who's dropped it. McWhirter just kicks it into the touch and goal line. Alan Thompson putting through the little grubber kick for Steve Mortimer. And Elwyn had it covered, but he very nearly conceded a try here as he dropped it. And it took the presence of mind of McWhirter just to tow it over the touch and goal line. Paul Borton. Nice low tackle by Lease. This is Simmons playing it. Roach. Sydney really seem to know what they're about, organising their play well. Cleal. Jarvis. Pearce. Nice tackle by his opposite number. Mortimer putting the cross kick over for the corner. McWhirter onto it. Back to, no, playing it forward. Brown. And the penalty against Sydney. Roach and Jarvis, the two prop forwards who are blocking the middle, been found offside. Just on 9 minutes gone in the second half. 30 points to 0. Sydney a leading country. Play right on the halfway line. Young. Brown. Good backing up by Pittman. Brown. Sterling. Trudgett. Hetherington. Well, there had to be a penalty there. Noel Cleal has been penalised. Brian Hetherington at no stage was able to play the ball.
Yes, a fairly elementary one this. Brian Hetherington going to ground here. Obviously keen for a quick play of the ball. Noel Cleal upended him just as he was getting up from the ground.
And Andrew Farrer has subsequently found touch on the quarter line. Well, Country open in pretty promising fashion, but their opening barrage only lasted 4 or 5 minutes. Since then, they've been completely outplayed, and this is the first opportunity since that they've had to get anywhere near the Sydney line. Elwyn. Good backing up by Brown. Caught by two of his Manly clubmates in Cleal and Borton, and Ray Brown only 4 metres out. Sterling trying to get in behind the defence, and his pass went astray. Hetherington out wide to Farrer, going for the corner, caught by Kenny, back to Hetherington, and immediately set upon by the defence. The ball's been lost. Kenny's got it, or had it. It's a knock-on though. Scrum to be set. Waiting for the ball, referee Roberts, in order to get a clean tunnel, not allowing the packs to go down. Bruce Arm in the scrum. Ray Brown right down in the scrum, but the penalty's gone to him.
He's told Steve Mortimer the first time that he would penalise him if he didn't put it right in the middle, and that's exactly the reason for the penalty. He put the two fingers up and signifying to Mortimer that he had two opportunities to get it in and didn't on either occasion.
Well, a little bit of sustained activity for Country now. They haven't had possession of the ball close to their opponent's goal line for this long in the entire game. And the succession of penalties there has assisted their cause, but it's not going to mean much if they can't get over the Sydney line. Crashing hit there by Jarvis on Farrer. sent him reeling backwards. Young. In the middle, he's gone. Mortimer moving up very, very quickly to prevent Sterling getting that pass out. Brown turns it back to Lease. Elwyn, Sterling, Trudgett. And Alan Thompson's got it for Sydney. Steve Roach. Put to ground by Mick Pittman. That's Thompson in the background who's on the ground. Had a bit of trouble with his eye in the early in the game. Cleal.
So he had a gash early in the game, which didn't look all that bad, but it could have certainly have impaired his vision for a time. He spent a stint out on the right wing in the first half.
Jack. Cross kick. It's Elwyn. Could well be, with Elwyn bursting downfield, that Roy Simmons might be given a spell, and the Illawarra skipper and hooker Michael Bolt just warming up there. Farah, John. And that penalty going rightfully to Country, with Sydney defence not allowing John Farah to his feet to play the ball. And Farah with a good kick that time, gains about 40 metres for Country to put them right on the attack. Good kick from Andrew Farah. So Sterling, little kick through, touched by Sydney, regained by them. Wayne Pearce. No stopping this man as he gets Kenny on the way, and on the far side, bursting downfield is Eric Grape. Lease can't get him. Grape is being chased by Hetherington, but he's got too much of a start, and Eric Grape with a 70-metre run scores try number 6 for Sydney. So Eric Grape joins Steve Mortimer in scoring his second try of the match. Brett Kenny set him on the way. Jim Lease realised he had to dive because he didn't have the pace. He's beaten. And Grape, once he was past that despairing tackle of Jim Lease, was never ever going to be caught. And he realised that he, in fact, slowed down to about half pace as he approached the goal line. Just kept away from the cover defence that kept chasing him across field. Try number 2 to Eric Grape. Roy Simmons, as we anticipated, has been replaced by Michael Bolt. Alf Richards just telling him how to look after that hamstring on the right leg. Simmons a little bit unhappy, I think, about being replaced, and Michael Bolt has gone on. 18 metres from goal. Ross Conlon, can he keep a clean record of conversions? Hit the post, went pretty close. He was swinging it in. Here's that good try. Now, Peter Sterling's kick was recovered there by Wayne Pearce, and it was he who set the try in motion. And then once Brett Kenny had drawn the defence, the only hope that Country had was this diving tackle by Jim Lease. It failed. Eric Grape was thankful of that, not despite the fact that he still had a run of about 55 metres in front of him, but it was a try that he well deserved. So Conlon back to his own quarter line. Michael Bolt, dummy half. Alan Thompson, Jarvis. Lease around the legs to put him down. Bolt. Thompson, Vaughton, Pearce. Tackler Pittman. Mortimer, who could be replaced shortly. Roach. Out to Thompson. That's close. Now one tackle to go for Sydney. So Gary Jack will kick. Chased through by Brett Kenny. He's got it and dropped it. That would have been fabulous if Brett Kenny had got the ball. He only had 1 or 2 players to beat. Here's that kick again. with Gary Jack realising that it was tackle number 6 coming up, so he put it high in the air. Kenny was onside, kept his eyes on the ball, realised he could get to it above Williams, and when it looked as though he had it, it just popped out at the last moment. Pittman. Out to Young. Turns it to Sterling. He's caught by Mortimer. Steve Mortimer's had the better of this duel today. Chris O'Sullivan, you saw the Canberra halfback, who might well be coming on, and if he does take the field, it will probably be at the expense of Mortimer. That's Farah. Ray Brown. Lease. Caught there by Cleal, popped the ball up. He succeeded only in giving it to the opposition. Alan Thompson got it, but it was knocked on. So Michael Bolt gets his first chance to pack down in the Sydney First front row. He has not been able to win the scrum, though. That's Elwyn. Good player. He really starred in the seconds win country. Now Graham overrunning the ball that went to ground. And so this is Elwyn to play once more. Back to Ray Brown. Lease. Good pass to Mal Graham. Well, not very far away from the line. 3 tackles gone. Country in with a chance. Vaughton has been hurt. That's Sterling. On to Young. Out to Hetherington. Almost intercepted by Brett Kenny. And with Sydney causing the knock-on, we've got trainer Alf Richards out there to have a look at Paul Vaughton. Former Queensland second rower playing with Manly. Now Vaughton looks like he's done his shoulder. He's going to be replaced. Well, what bad luck for Vaughton. Hope it's not too serious. A player who would be strongly considered by the Queensland selectors for the State of Origin series. But it's good to see him moving that right arm anyway. Penalty goes to country. Now Michael Bolt just getting that interpretation about the loose arm sorted out with referee Roberts. 34-0 the score.
Country certainly had every chance in the second half. They've received the only 5 penalties of the second half, and they're now leading those penalties 11-5. Pittman. Ball popping out. Brown has still got it. Country can't afford to give the ball away like that. John Farah. Driven to the ground. Probably the difference between these two sides is the determination of the Sydney forwards to put their opponents on the ground. Craig Young. Chris Close slinging him down. Lease. Brown. That's Trudgett. Caught by Pearce. Now only one to go. Sterling. Floating a long pass to Andrew Farah, taken ball and all by Kenny. The ball is loose. Cleal's got it, knocks it forward, and it'll be a scrum for the knock-on to both sides. So we're halfway through this second half. 34-0 is the score in favour of the Sydney side. The Country get their 6th straight penalty. It's the only thing that's been able to keep them down near Sydney's goal line. Sterling finding touch, 10 metres from the goal line. Well, there they are, Country 12-5, and they've had 6 straight penalties in the second half.
John Farah. Every time, 3 Sydney forwards in there involved in the action. Craig Young back to Sterling. Ball's loose. Sterling got it back. Again, Kenny goes for an intercept. Country have got it. Mick Pittman. Looks like Frank Stanton might be going to send on another replacement. Country charging the line. This is John Taven, the Eastern Suburbs lock. And in the meantime, Country are close to the line. Sterling, Trudgett, Hetherington, stepping away. Hetherington's got support. Tony Trudgett is over. Well, Country have been slogging away for 62 minutes for that try, and eventually it came to the former St George 5'8", Tony Trudgett, now playing from Yenda. And it was a good break by Brian Hetherington that set it up. Sterling got a good pass away, and Hetherington got the ball from Trudgett, and he was able to step out of this tackle. And then once brushing past Chris Close, he found Trudgett in support, and although he was caught, Trudgett was able to score. So Steve Mortimer being taken off. Chris O'Sullivan on. Not as yet, though. From right in front, Neville Elwyn adds the extras, and so some semblance of respectability, at least in the fact that Country are on the board. 34 points to 6. Here's that try again from head on. Sterling away to Trudgett. Trudgett had Hetherington on the move. He was able to step inside Chris Close, and then when he was caught by the defence coming across, he found Trudgett outside, who just dived past the defence to score. Steve Mortimer, who's had a top game, probably finished the better eye of Peter Sterling today. The kick-off takes place. Lease. Sterling. Roscommon getting there first. Well, Frank Stanton under a lot of pressure to try and win back that Australian coaching job from Arthur Beetson. And at least he's on the right track now with his team whitewashing the Country firsts in this game. Pat Jarvis to play it for Sydney. Steve Roach, in fact. Back to Jarvis. O'Sullivan. Gary Jack at kick and chase. Covered by Andrew Farah. Caught by Close and Pearce. To Ray Brown. Sterling. Elwyn took it beautifully. Lease. Williams. Sterling. Young. Roach and Jarvis and Michael Bolt all there to hold him. Trudgett. It's Pittman. Hetherington. Sterling. Young. Elwyn. Williams. Inside Grape, who really covered him. Ball came loose. It went forward, though, as Mal Graham picked it up. Just having a look at that little bit of a move there by Williams as he was covered by Grape and used a rather huge sidestep to step inside, but he was always covered by Grape and Pearce. Elwyn. 15 minutes to go in the game, and the score is 34 points to 6 in favour of Sydney. Sterling. John Farah's pass inside found second rower Mal Graham. Sterling. Trudgett. Brown. Former Country boy, back with his old team. This is Jim Lease. Brown, Sterling, Young, Andrew Farah. Well, every time Country, a succession of passes, look as though they're trying to get something moving, but then frustrated by the defence. Sterling on the toe. Gary Jack has got it, and a good tackle by Sterling. Looks like he's over that injury in the first half. Conlon taken by Sterling. Gary Jack. Roach. No, it's Jarvis. To Bolt. This is Pearce. Noel Cleale's long kick goes to Elwyn on the full. Ball jarred loose as he was taken in the tackle there of O'Sullivan's. Both sides have knocked it on.
Well, it's been a good day for Ray Brown, the country hooker. He's leading in the scrum 6-3. He's taken 2 tight heads, one from Michael Bolt and one from Royce Simmons.
Now Gary Jack setting the ball out to Conlon. He opened the scoring in this match with the very first try. That's Roach. Bolt. Cleale. It's 30 metres away from the country line. Sydney haven't been down here very often in the second half, but every time they have, they've been exceedingly dangerous, as Chris Close demonstrates by powering his way to score. My word, how were they going to stop him? Close got the ball about 20 metres from the line, and he must have taken 3 or 4 would-be defenders closer to the line. Very powerful run indeed. O'Sullivan set it moving. Just a little dummy, and then that long pass. Brett Kenny, a nice deft little pass to Close, away from Williams, got Elwyn in front of him, then was caught by Trudgett and over the line to score. Ross Conlon from the quarter line. Another good-looking kick, but just away to the right. And the try came from the side-on replay. You'll notice that Sullivan just dummied, and that was sufficient to bring some of the defence up a little bit. And then Kenny just unloaded the ball ever so gently to Chris Close, and it was this big, powerful run that was responsible for the try being scored. He virtually carried Trudgett towards the line. Try was not converted by Ross Conlon, and so the score remains at 38 points to 6. And there's a penalty going to Sydney.
That's Sydney's first penalty of the second half.
And it's going to be Brett Kenny to try and gain a lot more distance. At least a halfway. That's Jarvis. He's done nothing wrong today, Pat. Roach. O'Sullivan feeds it out to Cleale. Ball's gone to Andrew Farrar, though. He's been one of the country players, at least, to in some way hold his own out there. Craig Young. Andrew Farrar got his first chance at representative level in senior football in this game, and he really hasn't let his admirers down. Hetherington, Farrar. Williams. It's John Farrar. Trudgett, popping the ball up to Brown, to Lease. 22 metres out from the Sydney goal line. Elwyn, Sterling, he'll kick. Gary Jack breaking away. He's got Conlon in support. The ball went forward though. So scrum for the knock on. Gary Jack going to ground. Just didn't quite get that pass away early enough. Peter Sterling putting it in. That's Hetherington standing up. Jim Lease on the wraparound, but he's lost it. Great's got it for Sydney. Country have never ever been able to get into this game today. Steve Roach. In fact, Country have just made far too many errors to have had any chance of matching their Sydney opponents.
Yes, they certainly have, Alan, and it's been the tackles and the drop ball that's let them down today, and they can't afford it against such illustrious company. 52 errors to Country, 30 missed tackles, 14 drop balls as against 21 to City.
Yeah, that's an extraordinary number, isn't it? 52 errors in the game, and they've been playing only 70 minutes.
Well, the gap between the two teams is the extraordinary thing. Sometimes you'll see a match where you'll have a lot of errors, but they're relatively even.
So play almost on the halfway. Sterling. Brown turning it back to Trudgett. Elwyn's kick is a long one, sending Conlon back. And Gary Jack gets to it first. Supported by Conlon. Caught by McWhirter and Elwyn. Two replacements who played so well in the seconds game, won by Country a little earlier today. O'Sullivan calls to the blind side. Crunching defence though. Good tackle indeed from Jim Lease. And Craig Young there too. Out to the backs, giving Close another chance. Gary Jack's kick is aimed towards the touchline, bounces at right angles. Williams keeps it in play. Around Wayne Pearce. Caught there by Cleal and Kenny. Sterling unloading Elwyn. Ray Brown looking out towards his blind side. He's got Mick Pittman standing there, but he sends it to the other way. Craig Young. That's better play. Trudgett before he lost it. So a matter now of going through the formality of this last 4.5 minutes. To O'Sullivan, and a penalty to Country, and it's against Michael Bolt. So country with yet again a penalty in the second half.
They've had plenty of opportunities, Alan, with all these penalties in the second half. 13-6 overall, but in the second half they've been 7-1.
In fact, I think the country boys might take a photograph of that penalty count. It's the only thing that favours them in the whole game. John Farrer. Of course, Ray Brown's done a very good job out there as a ball distributor, and he's taken a couple of tight heads too. Jim Lees. Sterling. Trudgett. Young. Forced into touch. Williams got the pass inside though. And Williams is going to play it on tackle number 5. Brown dummy half. And so in all desperation, the hooker puts up the bomb that goes backwards. O'Sullivan and that's Alan Thompson eventually got it. And Thompson was hurt. At the moment he got the ball, he was hit in the tackle by Brian Hetherington and Andrew Farrer, the opposing centres. Whatever happened was accidental, I'm sure, but Alan Thompson standing his ground. And you notice as the ball is put in the air, Thompson underneath the posts comes out, keeps his eye on the ball, and at the moment gets the knee in the back from Hetherington. So the clock stopped with just on 3 minutes to go in the game. Hasn't been much of a game for most of the spectators. So Sydney running it out from their own goal line with just on 3 minutes to go, and Sydney have scored 7 tries, 4 in the first half. 2 have been scored by Eric Roth, 2 by Steve Mortimer, 1 each by Ross Conlon, Noel Cleal and Chris Close. And Conlon has kicked 5 goals from 8 attempts. For country, their only points have been a try by Tony Trudgett, converted from in front by Neville Elwyn. And Elwyn successful with his only kick at goal after Brian Dennis had missed with an earlier shot for penalty. So 7 tries to 1, and it's been a complete whitewash of the country effort by the Sydney boys in this match. Sterling to feed the scrum, which is midway between the country quarter line and halfway. Sydney ball. Trudgett getting it to Hetherington, stepping around Close, who chases. Hetherington eventually wrapped up by his opposite number. Farrer, Andrew. Mick Pittman on halfway. McWhirter runs into dummy half. Sterling, Young, Brown, Hetherington, running downfield, caught by O'Sullivan, nice tackle. Brown, Williams, pushing away from Steve Roach. 1 tackle to go for the country boys. Peter Sterling, grubber kick through. It's still in goal. The ref touch judge says yes, and it's a try. Neville Elwyn has scored. Gary Jack thought he got it. He had it covered. It was a very casual effort by Sydney in the in-goal area. And Neville Elwyn chased the kick put through by Sterling. Here it is, just a little kick. And even though Elwyn is coming down that wing, watch the attitude of the Sydney players. They all believe it's safe. And there was a rather casual attempt to scoop it away, and Elwyn dived and touched down correctly. Good try. Touch judge right on the spot. Quite noticeable that after Elwyn had got a hand at that the touch judge stood up and nodded to referee Roberts that in fact it had been grounded correctly in goal. The time ticking away. It's going to be full time, and just about the time the kick is taken. Elwyn from the quarter line, attempting the conversion of his own try. It's not a bad-looking kick. It's there. Good try. Sydney have won this game. Full-time siren is gone. The man of the match would have been Steve Mortimer, 2 tries himself. And he really set his back line going today, produced some good football. Steve Mortimer, the man of the match. And Neville Elwyn finishing the game with the conversion of his own try. Full-time score, 38 points to 12 in favour of Sydney Firsts. So as we told you, the Sydney side much too good for their country opponents today. 2 tries to Steve Mortimer, 2 to Eric Wraith, 1 each to Ross Conlon, Noel Cleal and Chris Close. Conlon 5 goals. And for country, tries to Trudgett, Tony Trudgett and Neville Elwyn, and Elwyn finished with 2 goals from 2 attempts. Sydney led 24-0 at half-time, and they've run out winners by 38 points to 12.
Well, it was a good game for Ray Brown today. He won the scrums 8-4, and he picked up 2 tight heads against both the City hookers, and country had a big advantage in the penalties, 13-6. Well, overall, the errors, a massive 55 to country and 24 to City, and 30 missed tackles in those country errors.
Thanks, Gary. So there it is. Sydney winning the match by 38 points to 12. The seconds match here went to the country seconds team. They defeated Sydney seconds by 28 points to 22. And then we had an under-18 match a little earlier. Sydney defeated country by 24 points to 2. The main game, though, Sydney defeating country 38 to 12. The man of the match was Steve Mortimer.